Ari, let us head back to the SEC. Very interesting spread in this LSU at Ole Miss game. Ole Miss is favored by 1.5, and this is one of those classic, the rankings, the polls, and the line makers disagree. Because LSU is ranked considerably higher than Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But the line makers favoring Ole Miss in this game doesn't feel that weird that they're doing that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Ole Miss is confusing.
They are.
They're a confusing team.
Defense showed up last week for what felt like the first time because it wasn't particularly good against Arkansas. I didn't think it was even that great against Kentucky because I think Kentucky's offense is probably going to wind up not being that good. And they look pretty functional against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And the Arkansas offense obviously was playing very well against them. But against Tulane, which had been very efficient offensively throughout the year, they shut them down.
Yeah. I love that Lane Kiffin was setting up his team for a sideline dunk. I don't know if you saw the video.
Well, they do. The person who scores the touchdown gets to dunk the basketball. But Lane was actually alley-ooping to a player.
Yeah, and they stuffed it. I think that I was very encouraged by what I saw in their 45-10 win against Tulane on Saturday, because if their defense was as bad as we thought it may be, Tulane would have scored.
Mm-hmm.
They would have scored on them. I'm not sure they would have won, but they would have scored more than 10 points. I mean, they took a team that we thought was at least in the pole position to make the college football playoff and stuffed them in the locker. And I will admit that I think, here's my conspiracy theory. I think that the reason why Brian Kelly had his post-game meltdown 2 weeks ago after the Florida game isn't because of the timing of the question.
It's because he's really worried about it.
I think he's actually frustrated by it. He didn't want to hear about it right away.
Yeah.
But like, you don't think that walking off the field, even if he hadn't watched film yet, that he saw his offense struggle for 4 quarters?
Yeah.
You don't think that he's certainly aware of that? And I think that is a major concern. I think that Ole Miss's offense is very good, and I know that their quarterback situation has been interesting. Trinidad Chambliss has been lights out in relief of Austin Simmons. Andy, do you know who's playing this weekend? Do we know?
We don't. And my thing on this is if Austin Simmons is the least bit slowed by the ankle still, you start Trinidad.
Fine.
Yeah, start Trinidad. Don't worry about it. This is a good problem to have. I think Josh Pate was saying this the other day. You know, he said it's not a controversy. It's a good problem. And it is. Like, you have 2 quarterbacks who can win you games. That is not a controversy. That is not an issue. That is not a problem. And basically, it allows Austin Simmons time to truly heal, because we saw him have to come into the Arkansas game when Chambliss got his hand hurt. And Simmons did not look like he needed to be playing in a football game at that point. So perhaps he's better now, but if you have any doubt, just start Trinidad. And your offense should continue to move very well. And really now, I think the question is, what is LSU's offense going to look like? Because the Clemson game, I kind of think we can throw that out now.
Yeah.
Now, Florida's defense played really well against them. That was the game they had Caleb Banks. It'll be the only game they had Caleb Banks all season, I think. So that's a pretty salty defense that's going to be better than most defenses you're going to play. They only scored 13 points against that defense because, remember, 7 of LSU's points were on a pick 6. So I do think how LSU's offense has evolved and what they do is a critical piece of this game. But I also think LSU's defense is significantly better than any of the defenses that Ole Miss has seen so far.
Right. And I'm going right now to look this up, but I wonder what the rushing offense for LSU is this year in the rankings nationally. I'm going to tell you here in 1 second. LSU ranks 112th nationally
in rushing yards. Let's do yards per carry.
This is national leaders of rushing offense.
Go to yards per carry. I want to see yards per carry.
Yards per carry.
Average right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Click average. Click that. Thank you. Now let's see where they are for that one.
109.
109. So not good. Anyway,
and they had that big run against Florida.
Yeah, you take the 51-yard run away. So this is not good.
No, but like that to me is the thing.
And this is what I worried about with LSU coming into the season, because if you go back to last year, the games where they really struggled were the ones that they kind of abandoned the run. and just let Garrett Nussmeier keep chucking the ball. That's much easier for teams that have good pass rushes to defend because you just send the people after Garrett Nussmeier, you heat him up, and you hope he makes a mistake.
Yep. So anyway, I think this is all, you can kind of tell where this is going, at least from my standpoint. I think Ole Miss is not, they're going to win the game and they're going to cover this, I think. And I also think, too, that this is going to be yet another instance of why the SEC is confusing, you know, because 3 weeks ago, LSU was, in some people's minds, the number one team in the country. And now that we have more context on the Clemson game and all those things, that, you know, hey, it doesn't look as good. So they have a chance to continue to win games and keep proving people wrong. But until then, I'm going to side with LSU. I think this is one of my favorite plays of the week, actually.
Yeah, so this is, I think I said a 1.5 point spread. Ole Miss is actually a 2.5 point favorite now. It's moving toward the Rebels even more, which I think is interesting. And we saw a little bit of that happen in the Indiana-Illinois game last week, too, where it opened, I think, Indiana as a 4-point favorite. By the time the game started, Indiana was a 7-point favorite. And people knew in that case. We'll see if they're right in this case. But it is very intriguing because, you know, I think people get caught up in the rankings and people get caught up in the polls. And we don't know yet because I think a lot of LSU's ranking is based on where Clemson was ranked when they played. And it looks like Clemson's not very good.
I also like the under here, under 55.5.
Yeah, I think both defenses probably assert themselves in this game. I think this will be a good example of how good LSU's defense really is. I mean, look, it looked great against Clemson. I don't know how much that means. 5 interceptions against Florida. I don't care. 5 interceptions is 5 interceptions. Like, that is good no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, I think something like 28-24 Ole Miss or 27-24, something in that range, seems like a pretty...
Well, and these two teams played a really tight game in Tiger Stadium last year. I believe it went to overtime. And Ole Miss needed it bad, and LSU beat them. It was one of the reasons that Ole Miss didn't make the playoff. So there is a revenge factor here, too.
The game's on the road.
Yep. So I will also take Ole Miss to cover the 2.5.
Love that about you.
Wow. We are very much in agreement on a lot of these.
Yeah.
So
now I can't even prove. So like I've already, like I haven't finished yet. So now I can't prove that I didn't cheat off you anymore.
Well, we are different on a couple.
Okay.
We're different on a couple, but
also it's not in my best interest to have the same picks as you.
It's not. I mean, we could all just kind of move along in the same general direction, but both of our records will just go the way we go. I'm excited about this one, though, because this is one of those, like, it's not the biggest game of the day, at least on paper, because you have Oregon, Penn State, you have Alabama, Georgia. This might be the one we end up talking about, though, at the end of the night.
Yeah, I think we will be talking quite a bit about this because regardless of the result, you have a 5-0 team with either 2-0 or 3-0 in the SEC, and that's going to be a being unbeaten in that conference is going to start to become rarer and rarer as we go on. So I cannot wait for this game, and it's probably one of the ones that isn't going to get a lot of attention as we have some pretty big ones in the evening. Yeah,
and the thing though, it could have a serious effect on the SEC race and the playoff race, and I think that is
not good. Will
and did last year.
Yeah,
so I think don't discount that part of it. But yeah, like Ari said, I think the defenses here are the ones that will probably have the biggest say in the game.